Please choose one of the planks and address it directly. All right, folks, we're going to start right in because we all want to get to the bar afterwards.
Good evening. My name is Marc Landis. I'm running in District 6 on the Upper West Side. I was tempted to address the planks that talk about commercial space being made available for performance space. As a real estate attorney, I've worked with local theaters on the Upper West Side, places like 78th Street Theater Lab, all the way out to Hawaii, designing a resort retreat for performers. And if you support me, I'll tell you who to meet so you can join them out there. But I really want to touch on plank number 5, talking about affordable housing, but in particular talking about health care. We have a housing crisis in New York City. And it's not just a crisis for artists, it's an affordable housing crisis for everyone. But we know that not only have we seen the impact of luxury deregulation, vacancy deregulation, the removal of Mitchell-Lama buildings from the Mitchell-Lama program with the buyouts, but we've also seen the programs that were designed for artists, such as artist in residence programs, disappear. We've seen that those apartments became unaffordable co-ops and condos, so only trust fund artists could actually afford to be there, or the wealthiest Hollywood folks who decide they want to make a second home here. We need real affordable housing, and along with that, we need affordable health care for everyone. And I have a specific proposal in that area. New York City gets great health care coverage for its employees. Why? Because with the number of municipal employees that we have in New York City, and the unions that bargain for good health care for their employees, the city turns around and goes to the health care carriers and says, give us a good deal. We have hundreds of thousands of employees. I want New York City to use that same bargaining leverage for every resident of New York City. So that if you don't have that kind of coverage available from an employer, you should be able to get that kind of coverage through the same providers that take care of our New York City employees. I think that you should offer a plan that is comparable to what a city council member can have at a comparable price, comparable to what a teacher can have at a comparable price, to make sure that nobody in this city goes uninsured. We need to move toward universal health care, and this is a way to get there. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Mel Wymore and I am Jimmy Van Bramer's third husband. I'm also running for city council because I believe it's my passion to build exuberant, inclusive community. And I cannot find one other venue more exuberant and more inclusive than an independent theater. And that's true everywhere I go. I have a lot of artists in my life. I have, my mother was an artist, my brother's an artist, my son is an artist, my daughter is a dancer, my campaign manager is an art director, and my deputy campaign manager is a concert harpsichordist. So we have a lot of art going on in my campaign. But you asked us to look at the nuts and bolts of really what it takes to have the arts community thrive. And so I'm coming with an actual platform of what to do. I absolutely endorse all 8 planks of the litanies and proposals, but beyond that, I think there's a few other things we can add. First of all, with land use, I would extend the ULURP process, that community review process, to as-of-right developments, not just the ones that break through the zoning code and require ULURP, but any development that increases bulk by a certain amount should be required to have community review and give back to the community some form of space for community artists and things like that. On that front, I have personally, when I chaired Community Board 7, I personally negotiated a ULURP that resulted in 2 major things. One was more space for community uses, and the second was the first ever permanent affordable housing, 600,000 square feet of permanent, first ever permanent affordable housing in our district, and that will be allocated to all kinds of people, including artists. The other thing I would do is optimize existing spaces, and that includes the database, but we need to do more than just create a database. We need to provide tax relief to companies and buildings that will allow for artists to perform and rehearse. We need to provide an umbrella insurance program so that there's liability insurance for those people that plug in. And I'll extend my conversation later on after that.
Hello everyone, I'm Marc Levine. I'm running for City Council in the 7th District, which runs from 96th Street on the west side up to 165th Street in Washington Heights. Like many of you, I have roots in the performing arts, though in my case the career peaked in 12th grade. I did, however, have an 8-bar solo singing at Lincoln Center. It's been downhill since then, but I have nothing but respect for what you as a community do for our city. I want to focus as well on the crisis in affordable housing. You know how bad it is. I'm going to talk about 3 solutions I'll fight for as your champion in the City Council. 1, the Bloomberg administration has built to preserve the 165,000 units of affordable housing during its tenure. Virtually 0 are dedicated exclusively for artists. That is a monumental lost opportunity. We can change that, and I will fight to change that, by making sure every dollar of subsidy this city gives out for affordable housing not only allows for apartment set asides for artists, but incentivizes it by changing the scoring system by which we give out those dollars. Secondly, we need to build on a little known but powerful provision in the existing zoning code. In Soho, there are 200 units, commercial lofts, which are for exclusive use by working artists under a provision called the Working Artist Zoning Law. There's never been a single other neighborhood in the city since 1971 where this has been applied. The Bloomberg administration has rezoned over 80 neighborhoods. Again, no set-asides for artists. We're going to take that law and apply it to emerging post-industrial neighborhoods around the city to create housing that will be for artists and artists only. Finally, there's no better way to make sure you have housing that will be immune from rising rents and landlord harassment than to make you owners of your own homes. That is a challenge because you have inconsistent income from multiple sources and slow payers, and banks hate that. Thankfully, there's an alternative. There are community credit unions. I started one uptown that helped hundreds of artists. How many of you are members of Actors Federal Credit Union? Fabulous. When I'm the City Council, we're going to create a fund to expand actors and credit unions like it around the city to support artists owning their own homes. I can't wait to work with all of you to make this a reality. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. My name is Cheryl Pahaham. I'm running for City Council in District 7. Growing up, I'd always thought of New York City as a place where arts came out of city neighborhoods. Organic arts that were admired and consumed around the world. And today, New York City seems to be a place where you already have to be successful to come here and create and produce. And I'd like it to be a city where art comes from the neighborhoods, where community arts thrive, where people can reach out to neighborhood-based organizations and get involved in theater, get involved in music, get involved in painting, and become artists and learn. To do that, we really do have to provide spaces for the arts. So I just would like to address the platform about creating community space for the performing arts. You've heard a number of ways that we can do that. We can do it through zoning. We can have special purpose districts created. We can do it through development incentives through the property tax system. We can use our public authorities like the HDC and the NYC EDC to use their financing to stimulate spaces and projects that they're funding. There's a lot that can be done through those mechanisms, but also on the ground in your own district. When you know landlords, negotiating with individual landlords to get them to commit to providing affordable space for the arts, then you can go secure the financing. You have to build a consensus locally to really get these underutilized and vacant properties in the hands of the arts community. So those are a few of the things I think we can do, and I look forward to your questions later.
Hi. My name is Angel Molina, and I'm a candidate for the City Council in District 8. And just for your knowledge, District 8 is the South Bronx, East Harlem, Central Park, and part of the Upper West Side, for now, because that may change. Okay, I'm going to pick two parts of it. In general, I agree with your platform. I think that there's some problems logistically in how to try to figure out some of the intricacies on especially no cost and some things like that, because I think that, excuse me, we live in a world where we have to pay for things, and even if it's at a reduced rate, but I think that we have to pay in order to put into the system in order to be able to afford all the other programs and services that we have in place. But generally, I'm in agreement with what you propose. As far as creating access to low-cost and no-cost community facilities that currently are available, I like the idea of pop-up performance spaces, especially in areas like mine in the South Bronx and East Harlem, where there's a need for these spaces. And what I would propose to you is that if you would commit to helping to also provide mentorship, teaching experiences for community members, I will find a way to get the money to be able to find it, find partners to be able to fund spaces where you could perform, where you can have theater and all kind of performance activities, with the caveat that you will help members in my community. I think that as we move forward, New York City is becoming very expensive, especially in Manhattan, and we're running out of room. I welcome you to come to the Bronx, come to the South Bronx. We welcome you with open arms. The South Bronx is no longer burning, and it's actually rising, all right? And we welcome you with open arms.
Okay, so now we have the lightning round where you raise your hands. How many of you are familiar with the 1% for Culture campaign? Okay, and how many of you are willing to endorse it tonight? How many of you are willing to dedicate at least one half of a staff person's time to culture? 100% staff. Okay, there you go. And how many of you are willing to have at least one cultural town hall during your campaign? Commit to having one? All right. And I'm going to ask one more lightning round. The current administration contends that artists are not leaving New York City for other cities. Do you agree with that? Who agrees with that? Very good. All right. So actually, Angel's answer was really interesting because that's leading to the first question of round 2, which is, can you pick a plank that you think is a good idea but problematic and talk us through how you might address it? Yeah. But remember, in this round, you have the chance to answer the question that the person before you answered, or pick a new one.
Except for me, because I got there the first. I think the greatest challenge here will be the plank that involves getting the utility rates changed. Unfortunately, New York City doesn't control Con Ed. There was a time when you could count on municipal utilities to act like municipal utilities and know that their primary purpose was to serve the public, not to serve the profit. But the regulatory power over Con Ed rests in Albany. Occasionally they exercise it, most of the time they don't. And I think that's going to be the hardest one to deliver. It doesn't mean we can't advocate. It doesn't mean we don't go out and we build coalitions. It doesn't mean that if there's enough interest, enough energy, we have a protest outside of the house of the chairman of the board, or maybe some of the other board members, and say, you know, 1% less for dividends and 1% dedicated to the reduction in electric rates. But I think that's going to be the hard one.
I'm going to pass on that one.
Okay, you want another one?
Can I pick one?
Nope.
Oh, I don't.
You're taking your chances.
Okay,
That's
I'll
the
take
game.
All right, I got it. I'm a high-risk guy.
Okay. Let's talk about the Cultural Institutions Group.
Okay.
And whether you are happy with the way it's run.
I think we can always do a lot more than we are with the cultural institutions, and we need to organize and broaden our base to extend it to a lot more of the nonprofits. An example I'll give is my own involvement in the West Side Y. When I was chair of the board there, we had a capital campaign, and we had to decide how we wanted to spend that money. And we chose to spend it, and I ran the capital campaign, but we chose to spend it on building of a community theater, because the community theater was going to bring a new form of development to kids, a new form of development to adults, and a new access point to bring people into the community center itself. And that kind of strategic planning really enhanced what the offering of the Y was, but also enhanced our entire community. And if we can have the cultural affairs group expand to many, many more nonprofits like that and offer that kind of strategic planning, then we would have a much stronger voice throughout the city in terms of arts and how they come to bear on each individual street and every block in our communities. And that's what will make it a difference for us.
I am going to address a shortcoming in the platform, which is to say there's a lack of understanding that you all, as independent artists, are actually entrepreneurs. You have vendors to pay, you have permits to apply for, you got equipment to buy, you have space to rent, some of you have payroll to make. Hello, you're running a small business.
Yes.
And the sooner the city understands that, the sooner we're going to be able to help you. And what's the #1 challenge facing small business in New York? It's access to capital. You need capital to buy equipment, you need capital to make renovations, you need capital to front money to people working for you when you're waiting for the contract to come in. The city can and should do so much more to meet that need for all of you, and I will push that agenda. And more broadly, I hope that LIT considers the financial service needs of this sector. You have retirement needs, you don't have a pension in most cases, you have healthcare needs, you don't have the benefit of employer-based healthcare in many cases. I've done extensive work with Freelancers Union, which has been groundbreaking in this area. How many of you are members of Freelance Union? Great. Or Atlas Shrugged, 2 great organizations. And, sorry, Fractured Atlas. I've actually never read Atlas Shrugged, it's the truth. It's the truth. On that inspiring note, I'm going to leave it there and look forward to working with you.
So I'm just going to comment on a difficult plank in the platform. I think securing low-cost, permanent, affordable housing for artists is going to be quite a challenge in this city, where we do have such a shortage of affordable housing for everyone, and especially in northern Manhattan, where we have an epidemic of domestic violence that is driving people out of their homes. We have a lot of low-wage workers who can't afford their rents, and they're doubled up. So your demands and your needs are competing with the needs of families, are competing with the needs of seniors, and just pushing a single agenda in affordable housing probably in this environment is problematic.
Housing. Housing is not only your problem, it's everybody's problem. Affordable housing is a big and growing concern in New York City. And as one of the, I think Yetta was one who mentioned also that as high-rise developments and sort of luxury developments are being built up, that pushes out a creative community. Just last week, I had participated in an impromptu rally for some Bronx, South Bronx artists, rap artists, who were internationally known. They've been occupying a space in a fairly industrial area. And the landlord pushed them out. They raised their rent, and they basically were forcibly evicted. And all around them, you can see development sprouting up. And it was a sign that, you know, again, that artists are usually the ones that come in, as Bronx President, Borough President Kassinger had mentioned, and are the ones that stabilize unused spaces. They bring creativity, art, function, music to communities, and as soon as things start to pick up and interest starts to pick up in those communities, rents go up, they get kicked out, and they have to move on. And this is no different, you know, where we are. And part of the idea that I was thinking about when thinking about coming here to address you this evening was about creating a artist in residency program, and especially around unused spaces. And I thought a lot about that, and especially on second floor in commercial areas where second floors are usually unused, nobody wants to rent them, and perhaps that we can, you know, find a way to utilize those spaces where it's agreeable to both parties, because there's a lot of them all over the city. And so I thought that that may be one way to address that problem. Another one would be to create a micro banking system among ourselves that we can sort of, and something that you had mentioned as well, which I think is good for small communities to be able to, where you get sort of turned down by larger venues, by larger banks. We bank ourselves and we sort of invest in our own communities. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, we're just about to go to round-ups. I do want to just jump in here editorially and say that there is some good news on artists' affordable housing front. There's been a bit of a breakthrough, and PS 109 is going up in El Barrio, and I think it's going to have 49 units plus community space. Apartments and community space, and the way that the group art space does this is by partnering, in this case with El Fightback, Barrio El Fightback, and making sure that the concerns of the artists' housing concerns are in line with the community's housing concerns, and that they're working together and not at odds. Okay, great. So if we can go to 1 minute wrap-ups.
I better pass the microphone down. I keep sending them in. First, I want to thank the League and all of you for spending the evening here tonight. This is pretty serious business, and it's terrific that you've taken the initiative to become this politically involved. And I hope to receive your endorsement at the end of this process. I don't have a performance background. I am an arts consumer. I'm a stage dad. My 12-year-old and my 7-year-old will be appearing in the Rhoda Shalom Theater Company of Joseph in May. So if you want to venture to the Upper West Side, tickets are very, very affordable, and there's some great talent there. But I'm not a show horse, I'm a workhorse. I have been involved in government and politics and trying to make sure the right things happen from the grassroots for the last 20 years on the Upper West Side. I served as a Democratic Party district leader for the last 14 years. I organized bus trips to Pennsylvania when it was time to turn voters to make sure that we could elect a Democratic president. And I did that in the years we succeeded, but I also did that in the years that we failed. I don't want to keep reading about Jersey City as our 6th borough. I mean, it's great for those who want to live there, but I want to make sure that the 5 boroughs remain a place that is affordable, not only for artists, but for families who will be your patrons. So thank you again.
I'm told you all about the number of artists that are in my life and in my campaign, but the confession I didn't make is that I'm an engineer. And that's funny, but it's also a great marriage. Engineers are able to take the values that we have as artists and actually put them into action and implement them in concrete terms. I've proven that I can do that by building a theater in our community that actually hosts local theater companies, local productions, incubates new performances, and teaches kids how to be enlightened and inspired by the arts. And I've seen my own children actually transform because of those spaces that we built. Those are the important things that we want to do. Beyond that, we want to make sure that there's infrastructure, not just in terms of the built environment, but the concrete ways in which we publish and promote the arts. community boards need to have databases that actually are available to everyone, so you can actually go to a website that's publicly available and see what's happening in your community and take access to it. So thank you very much. I would appreciate your support, and I look forward to working with you.
I want to thank LIT and Paul, David, Chris, Robin, John for putting this night together. I have some harsh news for you. All the statistics on the economic benefits of culture and art and all the research on how important art is to education are not going to mean a damn thing unless we back it up with political power. That is the reality of New York City. And if you look at what the animal rights community, the bicyclist community, the environmental community, the LGBT community have done to build a base for their issues, it shows you what is possible for us in arts. So I can't wait to work with all of you to make tonight the beginning of the movement to make sure that no one ever runs for office in New York City again without prioritizing arts and culture. Thank you.
I would really love for New York City to be a place where arts came out of neighborhoods, where people in their communities could access the arts. And so I'm going to be looking forward to working with all of you to make that happen. I believe it has to happen from the ground up. It has to happen by building consensus in neighborhoods. It has to happen by negotiating with landlords. It has to happen by leveraging all of the administrative power that we have already at our hands. There's no reason why our public schools couldn't be open for rehearsal space, for performances. There's no reason why we can't have public buildings for regular public use. There's so many avenues that we can explore together to turn New York City into the vibrant, organic arts center that it once was. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to try to get this all in before I get the bell. I want to thank the League of Independent Theater for inviting me here today, not only for a kid coming up from the projects. I not only consider it a thrill, but an honor to be invited here today, and I am deeply humbled by your invitation. I'd like to say that first of all, I think more like an artist than I do a politician. Art has changed my life. I hold a bachelor in fine arts and photography, and I've worked as a freelancer for many, many years. I've also scrubbed toilets and mopped floors in order to maintain that lifestyle. So I understand what it is. I've also been a mobile disc jockey, and if you get to come to one of my fundraisers, you get to hear me play. But in all seriousness, part of what I'm interested in is that part of my agenda is to create a hip-hop museum, school, and performing center in the South Bronx, where hip-hop began, and that is sort of the cornerstone of what I'm trying to build, and then talk about providing a foundation and a future for the next generation of creators. That is sort of the cornerstone of what I'm trying to create. And I hope you will support me. I will support you, even though you don't support me, but I hope you do. All right, God bless and thank you.
Thank you, everyone.